Is your home an ADT home? If not, listen up, gang. You need to get ADT to help protect against break-ins, fire, and even carbon monoxide. And now, for a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate, starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. That's just $1 a day. You spend way more than $1 on your morning coffee. ADT is the first security company to help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go with the new ADT Go app. ADT Go has some great features like family locator, private messaging, automatic check-ins, and safe driving reports. It even includes an SOS button with 24/7 emergency response. And if you need more of a reason to buy, you get ADT Go with a purchase of any security system. Seriously, guys, it's a great deal. Protect yourself and your family right now. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate. ADT, tested, trusted, proven with 36-month monitoring contract. Early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com. Golic and Wingo with you on a Tuesday morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN News and also on the ESPN app. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And then there's our guy, Florida man, NFL analyst and reporter Jeff Darlington joins us in studio. All right, before we get to Jeff, before we get to what's trending, Mike, you are hot under the collar.
I am. Two things.
And again, let me just say, America, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Are you really?
Yes.
First, I want to go back when we had Shaka Hislop on, who was fantastic, right?
He was great.
He played 2006 World Cup with Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Okay, and he was on here breaking down the World Cup.
I think the U.S. team lost to Trinidad and Tobago this year, by the way.
He had two things that were fantastic.
Yes.
First, about penalty kicking and being a goalkeeper.
Yes.
Dive and hope. I love that. I love that saying.
DNA scenario.
And the other was about replay that is going on right now.
Right.
I loved how he put it. He said, I'd rather be right after 2 minutes than wrong after 2 seconds.
Right.
Thought that was pretty good.
I thought that was very good.
That kind of stuck with me.
Shaka's with us for a while, but that's not what's really got you
this whole damn compass protractor thing, okay?
Damn you, Bryson DeChambeau.
Bryson DeChambeau is using a compass. Yeah. So, and a protractor, and I thought that was a protractor. The protractor, I know, is the half moon, the plastic thing. Yeah. I get it. So I just for fun, I Googled protractor. And all over the pictures of protractors is that the thing DeChambeau is using right next to it.
The compass.
So it looks like it's with the protractors, but it's not. When you click on it, it says, here is a compass and protractor set.
Right.
So I stink. I'm horrible.
So wait, I thought you said you were angry.
No, I'm angry at myself.
Oh, I thought you said people were ripping you.
No, they were ripping me, rightfully so, because I was so sure that I Googled protractor. Yeah. And of course, the half moon plastic thing came up, which I knew. But I saw all kinds of what I thought was also the protractor next to it everywhere. But when you click on it, it says compass and protractor set.
Yes,
compass and protractor set. Compass and protractor set. So I'm an idiot.
Here's what I can't figure out exactly how. And again, I want to be clear about this.
It's my understanding that there would be no math.
Because I don't do math. Bryson DeChambeau at the TPC at River Highlands, the Travelers Championship this past weekend, was caught on camera using a compass, not like a due north compass, but the compass thing that you use with a protractor.
Has the needle and the pencil in it.
And determine true pin locations, because sometimes they're off a little bit.
Right.
I have no idea how this would help with that scenario, but he's potentially in violation of 14.3, and we were making the joke, Jeff, that this is just peak golf.
I'm going to use one, first of all.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to
find out how to use it.
No
do
clue.
What with it?
I don't know.
And do what
how
with
many
it?
things in my golf bag I don't know how to use.
Listen, we have all used both a protractor and a compass in our upbringing in school.
What does a compass do? I can't even remember that.
And again, not a compass that points true north.
Right. Because when you say compass, I completely think of direction.
What does the thing do that makes the circle?
I don't know. And I don't know how this would help him.
Is it about angles? I don't know.
Hey, compass people, get out here.
Listen.
At Golic and Wingo. Call in 860-506-5505. Explain to us how using the pencil-y compass thing
because
with the point.
he's using it in his book.
He's using it in his yardage book.
In his yardage book.
I just want to know what the purpose is even in school.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I can't remember at all.
He's using a compass. He said he was using it to determine true pin locations, noting that they are off every so often, and he's been using it on tour in events since 2016. And again, the weird part is he's in violation potentially of Rule 14.3, but in the rule book, it says a question. A player uses a compass during a stipulated roundup to determine the direction of the wind or in the direction of the green of the greens. Is he in breach? The answer, no. A compass only provides directional information and does not gauge or measure variable conditions or assist the player in his play. So the rule itself says this is not a violation, yet the PGA Tour says we're looking into this to see if it's a violation.
Peak golf.
And it is peak golf.
When
That's
I try
exactly
and
right.
Google how do you use a compass, of course, the directional compass comes up.
Yeah.
And they're telling me,
That's
I
right.
know how to use that.
That's right.
So we're asking, we need your, like, as we often do.
Because we have used this, and we have all used it.
We need your help. We need your help on this. So give us a call, 860-506-5505, or tweet us at Golic and Wingo. Explain to us, A, what the hell do you use this compass for anyway? And B, how could it possibly help you in any way, shape, or form when it comes to determining true pin locations?
I wish you could see what he's Googling right now.
It all comes up just the compasses. I know how to use those. Okay?
We got researcher Troy on this, too. We'll
Holy
figure this
smokes.
damn thing out. By the way, 30 for 30 podcasts have returned. Subscribe to 30 for 30 podcasts right now in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or on Apple Podcasts, brought to you by Delta, where it's our goal to connect your life in the air to your life on the ground. Okay, before we get into Florida man Jeff Darlington there, we just have to do this because, damn it, I like the sounder. Hey! World Cup continues today. Argentina can advance to the knockout stage of the 2018 FIFA World Cup win with a win over Nigeria, which will be difficult, and a Croatian win or draw against Iceland. Now, a loss or draw would eliminate Lionel Messi and company from the competition, while it would come down to tiebreakers if both Argentina and Iceland win. And Mike, real specifically, this is important because Messi is in a massive scoring drought in the World Cup.
647 minutes of World Cup action, the longest drought of his career, and as again, Shaka, who was in here, said it will hurt his legacy. He says if you're ever going to be considered one of the great players, you have to have a World Cup under your belt, and still looking for that and not playing well in it. The thing I like about all the games today is there's only one team out, and that's Peru. They play Australia. Iceland plays Croatia. Croatia is already in. You just mentioned Argentina and Nigeria. You can both still get in. And then Denmark is playing France. Denmark can still get in, and France is already in. So definitely a lot on the games going on today. Looking forward to them. Again, 2 at 10 o'clock Eastern and 2 of them at 2 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, and more importantly, when we get to us, it's what's about our bracket. Australia, Peru. Do you have any? Who's got Peru? Who's got Peru? Who's got Tunisia will always be the greatest line. No, the staff has Peru. And I have Australia.
Peru's out, so.
Yeah, but I'm pulling for Australia. They can still get in. You have France.
I have France.
They take on Denmark.
Yes, they do.
I have Iceland. They take on Croatia, and I think Junior and Devin, my closest competitors at this point, have Croatia. So I'm for Iceland big, and you're obviously for Nigeria, and Argentina, I believe, is also the staff. The staff has Argentina. So
yes,
those are the big ones in play today. Jeff, are you into the World Cup at all?
No, I'm a bandwagon. I enjoy when USA is in it, so I can go to the bar and close it down.
There you go.
But,
you just like to drape yourself in patriotism every once in a while.
Yes,
every 4 years.
yes. So I'm disenchanted.
You are Florida man.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of that, you said there was some video that would explain.
No, I mean, you always call me Florida man,
because you are Florida man.
Perhaps in the future we should make sure that we coordinate that with some sort of Florida man video, because the one that is out there right now is a guy on 95 right by my house riding on the hood of his perceived girlfriend or some woman's
on
car.
the highway.
It's going 70 miles per hour.
On the highway, he's on the hood of the car.
Down 95.
Right.
It is a fascinating video that will make your day if you go watch it.
That looks like a
Peak Florida man.
Or the Darwin Awards.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do this.
Well, that's what we do in Florida.
Yeah, there
we
you
purge.
go. By the way, I love the fact that 95 runs all the way from Connecticut down to Florida. That's my favorite. I-95 can get you anywhere you need to go up and down the East Coast. Speaking of videos, by the way, as we were playing golf yesterday at our course, a bear strolled across the fairway.
Oh, really?
I have video of it, but he was in the shadows a little too far away, but right by my house.
Wow.
He'd been tagged already, had a bell on and everything, but we're about to tee off on the second hole. I look over and I'm letting that guy play through. But 8-foot black bear walked through. He crossed the fairway, then crossed another fairway, and we have that big pond at our course, and he just jumped in and went swimming. Just as a hot day.
In Florida, that would just be some guy in Flocka walking across the fairway. Like, that's what we deal with. You guys have nature.
We have actual bears.
Yes.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. So that may be something we'll have to get through when we play later on today.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, let's get back to the matter at hand, which is not the World Cup, sadly. But it is what's going on with the Julian Edelman appeal of his 4-game suspension. And as you sat down in here, you said something very interesting. You think he's got a good chance to win this appeal, as you give us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Why?
I think maybe I'm saying this because everybody else seems to think he has no chance, but and the New England Patriots, I'm told, also are going under the notion that they don't believe he's going to win the appeal, but that also doesn't stun me because they're not exactly overly supportive when guys are going through these types of matters. I would just point to the fact that first of all, what he's going to fight is the procedure, basically the chain of command of what happened to that test after it was administered.
The Ryan Braun defense, basically.
Yes, also the Richard Sherman defense. And this is in 2012,
right,
the way that he won. Yeah. Most guys who fight this stuff say, well, that's substance, I didn't know, and ignorance is not an excuse when it comes to the NFL's PED policy. The other thing that I've heard out there right now is that Julian Edelman and the NFL have not been able to pinpoint what the substance is that he exactly tested positive for.
That sounds bizarre.
I don't get that. I need it explained to me. So how can you get suspended for that?
It's about the levels in his body. And that's, if the levels are out of whack, the NFL immediately says, we don't need to tell you what it was. We just know that you're doing something wrong.
So in essence, because as Jeff Darlington is with us, and that pins it down to a little bit what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
In essence, what happened was he tested for an elevated level of something.
That's right.
Okay.
And but we do know what was elevated?
We have not said that.
But I don't anticipate that to be the premise of his fight, because guys have gone down that road before and not won.
I can see that. Okay.
If he goes down with the argument of the administration of the test and the process that followed after it was administered, he has a much better chance to win. And now he has picked up some pretty high-powered attorneys in New York who have defended this type of thing.
Spyro.
Which, by the way, is another move that a lot of these guys don't go with. They'll wind up going in there with their sports agent, with all due respect, or good at negotiating contracts, but not necessarily good at defending the premise of a law. So or a rule, I should say. So I do think that he has a chance if he channels in his argument and he goes in with the idea that I'm going to win this thing the way others have won it in the past.
So that makes more sense to me. And again, it's all supposed to be private, so
I know
we wouldn't know what's elevated, because that's what we said. If something was elevated, then you can see, okay, then something is off if you have an elevated level of something in your system.
Right.
How about a timetable? Is there a timetable?
Not.
I know there doesn't need to be.
As you guys know, with these things, like the day everybody expects someone to walk out of the building in New York and say, "Hey, the decision has been made." But now they'll gather and discuss, and it'll probably, I would guess, about a week or two. But
so right around July 4th. Fantastic. This hour of Golic and Wingo is brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. Okay. The other thing that's going on here is that there's still some decent players that are out there that have not been signed, most notably Des Bryant.
Well,
where is the market for Des at this point?
I mean, I believe Des when he says that it's not going to be a problem for me to find a team, because truly his biggest thing, and I think teams realize this out of the gates after the Ravens offered him a multi-year deal and he turned it down, that he is extremely interested in getting a one-year deal. For those that don't recall, he was waived by the Cowboys well after the first wave of free agency and all the money had been dispersed. His contract was such that he needed to put them, his agent needed to structure that contract so that it put it to the Cowboys that on day one of free agency, if they didn't want him, they should have cut him. But he didn't. So now he didn't get the chance to get that first wave of money. He wants to go out and prove himself with a one-year deal, make the money next year. A team is going to be reluctant to offer him that one-year deal until they know what they have when they get to training camp. So I do believe this is going to be something where he's not even in camp until, if I would believe it if you told me that Dez is not on a team week 2 of training camp.
So you're talking about waiting for an injury type of a situation?
Or a team that realizes what a problem they have at wide receiver.
Right.
Well, bigger question.
But I think he will be on a roster by week 1.
Bigger question then becomes, what do we think he is at this point?
I still think he's I think like the Green Bay Packers, I know Aaron Rodgers shut that down, but I think that was more out of matter of trying to defend his guy Jordy rather than actually whether Dez would be good for the team. I still think he's a perfect answer for a quarterback like that who can rip it in there and just let Dez go up and get it. He's still a monster. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden people have this perception of him that he is this lesser tier wide receiver. He's a monster when it comes to going up and getting footballs.
He is. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive's Home Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycle, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and at Progressive.com. Jeff Darlington, our NFL reporter, in with us. There's the other thing that's sort of been an interesting trend here, guys, this offseason, and I'd like to get your take on it. Gene Steratore, who, by the way, was the name of my fantasy football team the year the NFL refs lock out the Fighting Steratores. It becomes the fourth referee, long experienced referee, to retire this offseason. Why do we think we're seeing so many of these guys that have been reffing for so long decide to step away from the game this one season?
Well, first of all, several of them have. I mean, we'll see what Hockley does.
Yeah.
But these guys jump into this broadcasting role.
Right.
And quite frankly, we've seen it from the coaching profession too. You can make more money and potentially do less.
And not get yelled at as much.
Unless you're Mike Carey when he got everything wrong all those times, and then they said, "Yeah, we need to move on from this."
But beyond that too, I mean, we're talking about some guys who are a little bit in their senior in terms of being ready to try something new. I mean, just like anything else, I don't think there's any hidden thing here where the referees are saying this is just not worth it, despite the fact that a lot of these guys throughout their career have been basically part timers trying to make it on both sides.
Well, but to one thing there, it benefits them to be part-timers because they have other jobs that they do that pay them very well outside of the referee.
No
the
doubt.
NFL years ago wanted to make them full-time referees,
like, no,
and the refs were like, no, we're double-dipping now. We're good. Yeah. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but when you say they're part-timers, it was to their benefit that those refs were
without a doubt. And I can see these guys are getting older.
Exactly.
I can understand
I think
that.
It's simply a matter of time and generation.
So do we think that there's going to be a drop-off in officiating this year? Because there have been 4 or 5 guys that have been around for a long time. Now, some people may have some issues with the way these guys called games, but now we're getting much less experienced guys going to be on the field.
Yeah, I mean, Gene and Ed are both probably very underrated in terms of because they've become sort of caricatures of themselves.
Correct.
But in terms of their acumen for the rule book, I mean, they're very underrated. I mean, that might be the most difficult job in football other than the quarterback.
And I heard that argument before. My thought is, I mean, so these guys have been reffing forever. They know the rule book. I know a lot of guys in the NFL, 12-year players who are real good and 6-year players who are great.
Yeah.
So it's because a guy's reffing for 6, 7, 8 years. Does that mean that we're dropping off?
No, I was just curious because it just seems like it's been, it may be coincidental completely. It just seems like there's been a wave of very, very experienced referees this offseason that have said, I'm moving on.
Another situation going on that I don't know if is moving on anytime soon. Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
I mean, and that situation in Tampa Bay. I mean, where is this thing,
guys? This is a weird one, and it could get messier. And without speculating too much or anything like that, what I can share with you here is that first of all, the Bucs are in a really weird spot right now. And some might say, well, they drafted the guy. This is what they were potentially going to have to deal with, but the Bucs have loved him since he entered the building. And by the way, for the 2 years since this incident took place, he has been everything that they wanted him to be. And by the way, they also believed what he told them regarding this incident. And he had told them all along that he was in the Uber car with 2 other people. And if something happened, it wasn't him.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, one of the 2 other people that were supposedly in the car, his attorney is coming forward saying, no, my client says that Jameis left by himself.
And by the way, that person is in jail at this point.
Brandon Banks.
For a horrible crime, which is that of rape.
Yeah. That happened when he was at a recruit at Vanderbilt.
So I understand all the people are saying, why would we ever take the word of a convicted felon in this regard? Here's where it gets sticky. If all of a sudden this guy who clearly has a grudge because he's feeling like Darby and Jameis were sort of trying to throw this on him a little bit.
Right.
If he's upset enough to just say, well, look, here's my Uber receipt from later that night. I wasn't in the car.
Yeah.
Clearly, here's my evidence. All of a sudden, that aspect of him being the convicted felon goes out the window. Now, I'm not saying that to be the case, but right now the Bucs are sitting back saying, we don't know what the NFL knows. We have no idea. We're being supportive of Jameis Winston. But if all of a sudden the NFL rolls out this evidence that clearly he was lying to the Bucs and the NFL, that becomes a big problem.
Huge issue.
Because there's 2 completely different stories out there. There's
completely
the one
different.
where Darby and said, look, there were 3 people in the car and Jameis was in the back seat with me. And then Banks has now come out and say, no, we put him in the car by himself.
Right.
Those are completely different stories.
Completely different. Joel Glazer, the co-chairman of the Bucs, has come out and said, not only do we believe what Jameis told us, but we are incredibly supportive of a guy who has been everything we wanted to be since the day he stepped into this building. If the NFL comes out with this report and there's nothing new in there and there's no evidence and it's just basically a suspension because we felt like something happened there,
he didn't report it to us in a timely fashion.
We all move on.
Yeah.
I think he serves the 3 games and everybody moves on. If in that report there is more to this, it becomes a much messier situation. So I think from the Jameis Winston's perspective and from the Buccaneers' perspective, they are keeping their fingers crossed that Jameis knows in his mind what happened.
Right.
The Bucs are keeping their fingers crossed that they do not feel jaded.
He did get his Uber privileges revoked after this.
Yeah, but I mean that's not exactly the court of law.
No, it isn't. But the NFL has said on more than one occasion we don't need a conviction.
No. The NFL, that's exactly right. The NFL can punish him and give him the 3-game suspension. I'm just saying.
Talking about lasting effect.
The only problem here, the only lasting effect is if the Bucs find that Jameis lied. And as of right now, they have no reason to think so.
Florida man, you're the best.
I don't know about that, but let's golf later.
Done. Jeff Darlington with us. Hey,
By
Mike,
the way,
golf with us later?
No.
Okay.
By the way, a compass.
Oh, we have an update.
Is a
let's tease it. Tease it, Mike. I have good information.
I have to go.
No, you got to listen. That's why we do this.
I have a guy who's an engineer telling me what a compass is used for, and I wonder why he's an engineer.
Okay, that's a great tease. Okay. We'll get to that. Plus, if you're upset that the Patriots have won 5 Super Bowl rings, you can thank our next guest for the fact that they probably don't have another 5.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage. By Quicken Loans, chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
There's a whole lot of weird always going on around here. Mm-hmm. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, and the ESPN app, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, including our next guest. And if you are sick and tired of the Patriots winning 5 Super Bowls, you can thank our next guest for them not winning 5 more. Because one of his sons beat the Patriots in 3 AFC Championship games, and the other son beat the Patriots in 2 Super Bowls. That would be none other than Archie Manning, the executive director of the Manning Passing Academy, New Orleans Saints Ring of Honor, 2-time Pro Bowl winner, and the Secretariat of Quarterbacks in the NFL. Just making sure the bloodlines are strong. Archie, good morning. How are we?
I'm good, guys. Trey, Mike, how y'all doing today?
Doing well.
We're doing well. So the real question, Archie, the reason we have you on as the executive director of the Manning Passing Academy, Jerry Rice still said in the ESPN The Body magazine issue he's contemplating playing at 55. So when are you announcing your comeback?
I think all my eligibility is gone. You stick a fork in me, I'm done.
So Archie, as you look at this camp, and we'll obviously get into your kids and stuff, especially Eli still and with the Giants this year, but 1996 at Tulane, you guys started this camp. About 185 players from Louisiana and Mississippi high schools attended this first camp. What was the thought process then of why you guys wanted to do this camp?
We just kind of wanted to help quarterbacks and receivers. And to this day, our mission, Trey, is not. We're not about trying to make guys into college or even NFL players, particularly our quarterbacks. We really just want to enhance the high school experience. And we think any youngster that chooses to play football that should have a good journey through high school. So we try to help them along the way with fundamentals. We do a lot of lecture series. We talk a lot about being good teammates and leadership, especially from the quarterback position and many other things that we address, and try to have a lot of fun with these kids too. We do have fun. We really have fun. They can't get enough. You know how hot it is down here, and we practice 3 times a day. We send them back to their room to get a rest after lunch, and we see them outside their dorms throwing the football. So great kids, and we're so appreciative of their parents and grandparents who. So many of them drive them down here from all over the country. We had 46 states and Canada represented this year, and kids are just great, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of wears you out after 4 days. We're all pretty tired, but we had a really good camp this year.
Well, you certainly do, Archie, because you get some of the best names. You mentioned high school players, but just some college quarterbacks that are there. Jalen Hurts from Alabama, Jarrett Stidham, who started at Baylor, now is at Auburn, Nick Fitzgerald from Mississippi State, Trace McSorley, Penn State, and Drew Lock out of Missouri, really considered the top quarterback prospect coming into this draft. What do these guys that are already in college, what are they getting out of this draft, out of this camp already?
Well, they're such a big part of our camp. If we have around 1,200 kids, we try to staff it 10-1. So that means we're going to have 120 coaches out on the field. And most of those guys, about 80 of them are high school and college, small college coaches who come back every year. Been coming 15, 20, 18, 20 years. So that's fun to have those same guys. But 40 of them are going to be college quarterbacks, maybe a couple of college receivers. And these guys, certainly they coach our kids, but we try to pay them back by especially Peyton and Eli and maybe some of our pro people who are part of the camp. Try to spend time with them. They work out 3 different times while they're here, and then have a competition on Saturday night. So, and I think the best thing, if you talk to them, Trey, the thing they get out of it the most is, they have some private sessions with Peyton and Eli, and they get to throw out on the field with some pro people looking over their shoulder. But I don't know. I think it's just kind of the 4 days together, with 39 other college quarterbacks and the friendships they make. A lot of them know each other from high school, but they make new friends. They're competing against each other. I think 10 of our quarterbacks this year were starters from the Southeastern Conference, so they're competing against each other on Saturdays. But yet here, they're spending 4 days together and having fun together.
Talking Archie Manning again, Executive Director of the Manning Passing Academy, started in 1996. At Tulane. Is there a number of players that have started, that came in as high schoolers there and ended up playing in the NFL?
You know what, Mike? We don't track that. It's just because we really don't want the perception of recruiting, and we're not into 3-star and 5-star, so we really don't track our high school players. We can tell you our pro counselors through the years, there's over 40 guys that have been pro counselors here that are on NFL rosters today, but we just don't track the high school players. Funny story. Remember when, I'd kind of like to forget it, but anyway, when Seattle played Denver in a Super Bowl, and in interviews prior to that, Russell Wilson said, "Sure, I came to Manning Passing Academy." Well, they called me. I'm sure he did, but we can go back and look at our records, but we just don't track them right there. So it's funny though. My media guy found a picture of some campers, about 10 of them on a knee, and Peyton was giving them a little talk. And right there on the front row I said, "That's Russell Wilson. I know that's him." I remember when Johnny Manziel came to our camp, under a lot of notoriety. He said he'd been a camper here twice. So. I do remember some. I remember when Oliver Luck brought Andrew down to our camp, so Oliver had been a teammate, so I knew that. And now a lot of times the college kids that come in as counselors, when I talk to them and invite them to come, they say, "Mr. Manning, I was a camper there for 3 years." I said, "Oh yeah, I knew that. So, but I don't have those numbers.
Well, I'm just looking at an article. The article happens to be from 2015. I'll look for a more current one. At that point, there were 54 quarterbacks currently on an NFL roster that year who had participated in your guys' camp, including 7 number 1 overall draft picks.
Crazy.
So, from Jameis Winston to Andrew Luck, Sam Bradford, Matthew Stafford, Jamarcus Russell, it has really been incredible what you've done. And I would imagine, I know everybody's getting older, but no end in sight for this thing at this point?
Well, I don't know. I think we're kind of looking toward 20. This was our 23rd year, and we're already thinking a little bit, gosh, year after next, to look back at 25 years of this. You know, I was thinking, again, Mike, I said we don't track these high school players, but I do remember our first year, those 185 we had on campus at Tulane, and we were reflecting on that this year. 2 of those campers that year were seniors in high school in Louisiana. One of them was Major Applewhite.
Wow.
And the other was Patrick Ramsey. So I was telling Eli, I said, Eli, those guys, now they were campers with us. They're 40 years old now. And it's kind of funny when I've always run into people who say, my son came to your camp. And now I'm running into, 30 and 35, 37-year-old businessmen, people somewhere. And I'm also where they say, oh, I came to your camp. The coach at Memphis last year, I was there for a banquet. I said, Coach, you came, Mike Norvell. I said, Coach, you came from Arizona? He said, no, I came from Arizona State. I said, oh, yeah. He said, but more important, I was a 3-year camper at the Manning Passing Academy. Brandon Stokely was my hero. He was my coach and hero. And so it's kind of, as the years go by, it's kind of fun to hear things like that.
Well, it's awesome.
And also, I might mention, we had a really good bunch of quarterbacks this year. I mean, these kids, we started this to really help quarterbacks be better passers. Here in South Louisiana, back when Peyton was playing, my son Cooper's playing, they didn't throw the ball very much. The teams they played, used to throw 7 or 8 passes a game. But, that's kind of changed throughout the country, the spread offense. I think it kind of began in Texas. But the high school kids, we've seen such improvement with them through the years when they come in here now because they throw more. But the college players as my grandson says, he can really spin it. I'm not sure this class this year is going to have as many number ones as last year. That was a pretty strong group last year, and we had all those guys here. This year may not have that, but it's still some guys that can throw it. I will mention too. You mentioned Drew Lock. He really is a good-looking player. Jarrett Stidham, great-looking prospect. We had 2 6'8" quarterbacks this year. I don't think we've ever had that. Cole Kelly is 6'8", about 270. He's vying for the starting position at Arkansas. And he's a Lafayette, Louisiana kid, so we wanted to have him. And there's a really impressive young man at Buffalo named Tyree Jackson, a really great-looking athlete. He's 6'8" also.
Well, listen, Archie, before we let you go, obviously Eli Manning still in charge of the New York Giants. It certainly seems like with their decision to pass on all those quarterbacks in the draft and go with Saquon Barkley, they feel like Eli's got a few more years left in him. How much does Eli talk to you about how much longer he wants to play?
Well, Eli feels good. He's been knocking on wood here. He's never been hurt, and he takes good care of himself. He throws with these guys in our little exhibition on Saturday. And Eli doesn't back off from any of them. I really think Eli's throwing the ball better at 37 than he did at 27. I think a lot of it has to do with, some stretching and some things he does to preserve his arm. So he feels good. Trace McSorley was telling what a great player Barkley is, and I think from their OTAs he's certainly proved that. So hopefully they can kind of put that season last year behind them, get back on track. It's a tough division. But Eli feels good, and he's looking forward to playing.
And I think that's the outlook that the Giants have taken with what they did in the draft. Arch, always good to talk to you, my friend. Enjoy the Academy.
Thanks, Archie.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate having me on.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, and the ESPN app. So we've been talking about this story with golfer Bryson DeChambeau, who is an interesting dude on a lot of levels.
I didn't realize he was only 24.
Yes, very young. He wears a jaunty cap, looks a lot like Payne Stewart without the +4 knickers. with the cap. He's got the blonde hair. He has all his irons the same size as a 6-iron. His thought process is physics. Why do I want to change my swing for different lengths of clubs? I just make one swing with one club, and it's much easier to be a simple, repeatable swing. So he's into the math of things.
Yes, he is.
And you know our philosophy here on this show.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
That's sort of the way we approach things.
I'm okay with easy, simple math, but this goes a little further.
So he's under investigation on the PGA Tour for something that happened over the weekend at the Players' Championship here, the Travelers' Championship, rather, at Rivers Islands, the TPC course here in Cromwell, Connecticut. They saw him using a compass.
So when I heard, I didn't see it. When I heard compass, I thought of the directional compass.
North. Right.
Until I saw him using the compass in his yardage book, which I thought was a protractor.
Which it is not.
It's that half-moon plastic thing. That's a protractor.
A compass and protractor work together.
It's exactly right.
Work together. So we were trying to figure out what could possibly be the use of a compass to determine, because he says he's using it to find most accurate pin locations.
Right, exactly.
On the greens. So one tweeter who was right with us wrote in, I became lost while hiking in the woods the other day, but luckily I had a compass and I was able to draw perfect circles.
I mean, why are two such different things both called compasses?
I don't understand that.
That right there. Then I have this from Alex.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I'm an engineer. The compass is used to draw circles. Well, thanks Alice.
Appreciate
Alex.
that.
We knew that.
Yeah.
Okay? He does go on to say, in engineering, you use a circle to find angles. He could be using it to find the distance from something else using trigonometry. Again, there's that math thing. But that's what he's doing.
Right.
He's looking for angles, right?
Yes.
And pin placement, if it's correct. I have no idea how. I'm sure, obviously, he's a lot smarter. He's 24, using his protractor and his trigonometry than we are. But holy smokes.
Yeah.
I still want to know, why is a directional compass and the thing with a needle and a pencil in it, why is it called the same damn thing?
That's a very good point. And how much can you actually learn from the compass and the protractor?
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what's in the yardage book. I've never seen one of those things. I don't know what's on there to know what he's using it for.
Well, it's a quad. It shows the green in quadrants, and it shows like shapes and like where there are false fronts and all that kind of stuff. And the pin locations are put in every day. On every tour event, they put out a pin sheet location where it's 6 yards off the front and 13 yards off the left, and if it's like a right angle to where it is.
If it's telling you that, why do you need the compass?
Because Bryson believes that sometimes those pin locations are off. They're a little off. So he wants to be because look, as we said, he's a guy who's really about getting this down to a science.
Right.
Again, he cuts all his irons to the same length as a 6-iron. So he wants to make sure he has all the information. And that can be a problem too, because I think sometimes, especially in a game like golf, you can think your way out of a lot of good shots. I know that's not for you, because on the second hole of Pinehurst number 2, you did order how many? 16 beers.
16.
So you were in no way, shape, or form going to think your way around the golf course. That was a fact. But guys like Bryson, there are a lot of golfers who are tinkerers.
Yeah.
Who always want to change one thing and do one thing and get this much. Tiger, to some level, is a tinkerer. He's changed his swing a million different times. So some guys like to tinker, and sometimes you can tinker too much. There is too much information, right?
And listen, if this helps him, more power to him. If he can figure it all out, and obviously he can, and he's using it, but now we have to find out, is it really illegal?
Yeah, and according to the rule, it says it isn't, so he's still being reviewed for it.
In the rule, when they say compass, do they mean the compass he's using or the directional compass?
That's an excellent question.
Do they specify
a
math compass?
They do not, and we'll try and get to the bottom of that. And by the way, breaking news here.
Yeah.
One of the greatest golf stories that I've heard all my life that I believe to be true has just been confirmed to be true. And you're going to want to hear this.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Confirmed by who? The person who did it?
Yes.
So we said that. So we believe him? They could be a liar.
Well, maybe, but I think you're going to like this one.
All right.
This makes me so happy that I'm able to share this. Stay with us. We're back in 10 seconds. Or back after a few minutes.
Not 10
Whatever.
seconds. Is your home an ADT home? If not, listen up, gang. You need to get ADT to help protect against break-ins, fire, and even carbon monoxide. And now, for a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate, starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. That's just $1 a day. you spend way more than $1 on your morning coffee. ADT is the first security company to help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go with the new ADT Go app. ADT Go has some great features like family locator, private messaging, automatic check-ins, and safe driving reports. It even includes an SOS button with 24/7 emergency response. And if you need more of a reason to buy, you get ADT Go with a purchase of any security system. Seriously, guys, it's a great deal. Protect yourself and your family right now. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate. ADT, tested, trusted, proven with 36-month monitoring contract. Early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com. Lenny Kravitz helping you get through a Tuesday in June. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News and the ESPN app, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can follow us at Golic and Wingo or leave us a voicemail at 860-506-550. Is it 5505 or 5055? Which one is it?
Thought it was 5505.
I thought it was 5505. Damn it, what's going on? Can't we get anything right?
Yeah, I think that's wrong.
I think it's 506-5505. Right?
Yeah, I think it's wrong.
5505. Yeah. You know, you bring in a producer, stand 6 away, and I get the phone
Everybody's
number
calling
wrong.
Go, what the hell is that? Well, nobody's answering.
Now I need to know what number are they calling.
860-506-5505.
And for those that had 860-506-5055, we apologize for the calls that
Lose that number
this morning. So again, the voicemail number is 860-506-5505. Bruce Arena, former manager for the U.S. men's national soccer team, will join us, talk about what he's seen in the World Cup so far. We'll get to that a little bit later. We had Brian Windhorst on earlier with some interesting information about where he thinks the LeBron watch is headed. And one of the greatest stories that I had always thought was true has now proven to be true.
Oh, boy.
And we will share that one with you as well. It will not disappoint. You are going to, of all people, are going to like this story.
All right.
We'll get into that after we get into what's trending, and we'll start with World Cup action continuing today. Hey! Argentina can advance to the knockout stage of the 2018 FIFA World Cup with a win over Nigeria at 2 o'clock Eastern. And a Croatia winner draw against Iceland, also a match at 2 o'clock Eastern. A loss or draw would eliminate Messi and company from competition, while it would come down to tiebreakers if both Argentina and Iceland win. Bottom line is, Mike, Argentina has to have Messi show up.
Yeah, they do. He hasn't scored in 647 minutes of World Cup action, largest drought of his World Cup career. But what I'm a little dismayed at is the team they're playing, Nigeria, they can make it in.
Yes.
So let's give them a little love, basically
been great.
because they're one of my teams.
Yes.
That I need to get in. 4 games today, only one team is out.
Yeah.
Argentina and Nigeria, they both can get in. You have Australia and Peru. Peru's the only team that they're out already. Australia can still get in. Iceland and Croatia. Croatia is in, and Iceland can get in. Denmark against France. France is already in, and Denmark can get in. So we got a lot riding on today's games as our snake draft right now. That we had 4 teams. Wingo leads with 30 points. Mike and Devin have 26. I have 25, and the staff is bringing up the rear. They're horrible. They have 20 points.
20 points. That's bad. And I have a chance for more points today.
We all have a chance for more points today. Why has it got to be just you have a chance for more points today?
I'm in the lead.
Oh, my God.
Championship.
You're unbelievable.
Championship.
Team thing going on here.
Good luck to the rest of you guys.
Yeah, whatever.
Congratulations. James Harden named NBA MVP. He becomes the 3rd Rockets player to do it, joining Hakeem Olajuwon and Moses Malone.
Yeah, and I have no problem with this. Again, it's a regular season award. The award show was last night after the playoffs and the NBA championship. You have to remember all these awards are for the regular season. So he's the MVP. Ben Simmons gets the Rookie of the Year. Dwayne Casey has now won 2 separate Coach of the Year honors, and he's not coaching the team for which he won Coach of the Year for. Fired from Toronto, is now coaching in Detroit. Rudy Gobert takes home the Defensive Player of the Year. Victor Oladipo, the most improved from Indiana, and Lou Williams with the Clippers won the sixth man. He won it in 2015 for the Toronto Raptors. Who was coaching the Toronto Raptors?
That would be Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, just another one that he coached there. Yeah. Lou Williams winning it for a second time. So those are the awards last night, and that's the big thing. I don't know how big. I mean, a lot of people think LeBron could have won it. LeBron could have won the MVP. Yeah. But, it's, again, a lot of it's the Michael Jordan effect. Plus, Harden had 65 wins, led his team, led the league in scoring. LeBron's team had 50 wins, and we know that he goes on and off a little bit during the regular season to try and get the proper amount of rest, even though he did play all 82 games this year, and the team went through a massive transformation at the trade deadline.
They certainly did, and one of many massive transformations that team had, yet still somehow, some way, he got them to 50 wins and all the way to the NBA Finals for a 8th straight year. And they do this every year, Mike.
Yep.
And for the second year in a row, Patriots quarterback Tom Brady has been voted the number one player in the NFL by his peers. The list, of course, is part of the NFL Network's NFL Top 100, wrapping up Monday night. Tom Brady is number one.
Okay,
we have some issues with this list.
So you can start killing the music on this one. We're going to get into this a little bit.
A little deep dive.
Here's the top 10. Number 1 is Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Antonio Brown, wide receiver of the Steelers.
Get that.
Number 3, Carson Wentz.
He was injured in December, did not play the entire season.
Number 4, Julio Jones.
No issues.
Number 5, Le'Veon Bell.
Probably top 5, yeah.
Number 6, Todd Gurley.
Okay.
Number 7, Aaron Donald.
Let's stop right there. We need to have a pause right now, okay? Todd Gurley is an exceptional football player.
Absolutely is.
One of the best, no question. But he's not the best player on his team.
So basically,
Aaron Donald is pretty the best impressive player in the top team.
What's pretty impressive, though, according to this poll, in the top 7 in the league, 2 are from the Rams.
Yes.
Aaron Donald should be top 3.
Listen, without question, Pro Football Focus ranks every player every year, and they had him ranked higher than Tom Brady. And the only knock they had him, well, he missed a couple of games, missed some time because of training camp. That's the only thing they could find to knock on his game. Aaron Donald, it might be fundamentally the best player in football.
To finish the top 10 real quick, Drew Brees is number 8, Von Miller number 9, and Aaron Rodgers number 10. So
all good.
Aaron Donald, ridiculous. He's top 3.
Yeah.
I love Carson Wentz. I've gotten to do some things with Carson
Wentz.
He's great. Good dude, but way too early to put him at number 3.
Agree.
Way
Especially
too
when
early.
They finished the season without him. And I know that's not his fault, but, the body of work was smaller from him than anybody else.
He missed time and still was at number 3. Aaron Rodgers missed time and went from, I think, 6 to 10.
Correct.
Missing time with the broken collarbone. To me, Aaron Donald or Aaron Rodgers is one of the top players in the league, too, but he missed the time with the injury, so I understand what they're doing here. So I would immediately, you want Brady 1, that's fine. Antonio Brown, I can even live with it, too. I put Aaron Donald number 3.
Yeah.
I jump him all the way to number 3.
There's no way he's not the best player on his team. There's just no way he's not the best player on his team.
I could easily flip-flop Carson Wentz and put him at 7.
Yeah.
Put Aaron Donald at 3.
That's not a knock against Wentz.
Leave Julio Jones at 4, Le'Veon Bell at 5, Todd Gurley at 6, and then Carson Wentz at 7. And I'd be fine with that, though. I don't know. Drew Brees at 8. I don't know if I put Carson Wentz ahead of Drew Brees, quite honestly, as well. But Aaron Donald, he's top 3, top 2. Aaron Donald could have been listed number 1 in this, and I wouldn't have batted an eye.
Yeah,
not even blinked hard at that.
And in fact, again, Pro Football Focus rated him the number 2 on their list was Tom Brady. So Aaron Donald to them was the best player in football. Tom Brady was number 2. I have no problem with. Look, there's no way that Aaron Donald is outside of the top 5 players in football.
No shot.
And there's no way he's not the best player on his team.
Yeah.
Nothing against Todd Gurley. He's a great player. But Aaron Donald is ridiculously good. It just shows how skewed everybody is to offense.
Right.
And how they look at things. Does he score? Does he catch? Does he run? Does he do all these things? No one is better at their job in the NFL than Aaron Donald is better at his job in the NFL.
I agree. So we had, because I went to 11 through 20, and top 10 we had 2 defensive players.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald and Von Miller.
Yep.
That was it, right? I believe that was it.
Yep.
Look at 11 through 20. Russell Wilson was 11. Luke Kuechly, another defensive player, he was sitting at 12. DeAndre Hopkins, a wide receiver from the Texans, at 13. Calais Campbell. I'm sorry, Calais.
Yeah. You know what?
Calais Campbell, the monster that he is, sitting at 14. Good for him.
Yep.
Gronkowski at 15. Khalil Mack at 16. So certainly you're getting the defensive players here. Jalen Ramsey at coming in at 17, Roethlisberger at 18, Everson Griffin at 19, another defensive player, and then Alvin Kamara at number 20. So more defensive players from 11 through 20, certainly then in the top 10. But that would be my biggest thing is Carson Wentz a little early be number 3 in the league, and Aaron Donald could easily put him at 1. I would no way drop him any lower than 3.
Yeah.
No way.
He's got to be there. He's got to be there. Okay. So we have a lot to get into. Now, I would like to present you with the choice. Do you want to get into more LeBron watch now, or do you want to hear the story of the greatest story?
I think I need to hear this fight story that you've been teasing.
Okay,
then we can get into LeBron.
Now, this has been a story of lore for many, many years, and there's a little backstory to it. Steve Marino has been a long-time journeyman player on tours, won a couple events, and done pretty well. The story starts that one day he was sitting in a bar in Florida, and Ernie Els walks in. And Ernie Els walks up to him, starts chatting him up, and Ernie Els has no idea that Steve Marino is also a fellow golfer, a fellow professional golfer on tour. And so much to the fact that Ernie Els says, "Mate, what do you do for a living?" And Steve Marino says, "Well, actually, Ernie, I'm a professional tour player, and I'm higher on the money list than you right now."
Oh!
And so that sort of broke the ice, and they sort of got going. And it turns out they found out they were going to play in the same event in Japan.
Okay.
And Ernie, being the nice guy that he is, says, "Hey, you know what? My plane is full on the way over there, but on the way back, I have room, so why don't you fly back with me on my private jet?"
From Japan?
From Japan.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
And Steve's like, "Yeah,
okay,
that sounds like a really good idea." So I'm saving me some cash.
Wow.
So the story goes that after the event in Japan, Ernie Els showed up, and Steve's there in the clubhouse, in the locker room, and says, "All right, mate, you ready to go?" And so they get in the go, and they have a few beers on the way over to the car.
Sure they do.
So they get on the plane, and they get on Ernie's very nice big plane, because Ernie's a 4-time major winner and done a lot of great things and made a lot of money, can have a plane. So they have a few more beers on the plane. And then Ernie, being from South Africa, for whatever reason, all the South Africans like to make wine. Right? They have vineyards. Gary Player does it. And he says, "I have some wine. Why don't we break out some of my wine?"
Okay.
So now they're breaking out wine on the plane.
They're drinking wine now.
And they're feeling pretty good about things. And at one point, Steve Marino has to go use the restroom.
Of course. All the drinking they're doing.
You gotta empty the tank. So he goes to the restroom, and he empties the tank, and he opens the door to the bathroom. And Ernie Els is standing there right in front of him.
Standing right there.
Right there.
Because he has to go to the bathroom
blocking the way.
Okay.
So Marino tries to move one way and get out of the way, and Ernie's just standing right there. So finally Steve says, "What's your deal?" And Ernie Els, without batting an eye, says, "And now we fight." And headbutted Steve Marino on the plane and began to wrestle him on the plane. And these are two big guys. Steve Marino's a big guy. Ernie Els is a big guy. And they're wrestling on the plane as it's flying in the air. They were wrestling so much that the pilot actually had to intervene and say, "Guys, you better cut this out, or I'm going to land this plane and you guys are going to be in big, big trouble." The plane was moving that much. So eventually they sit down, and yet it continues again. And finally the pilot says, "I swear, if you don't stop this now, I'm landing this plane and you guys are in real trouble." So finally they sit down, and eventually they doze off because they've
had a lot to drink.
Had a little to drink, and they obviously were exerting energy. And then the plane lands, and Steve Marino wakes up and is like, "What just happened?" And then he sees Ernie, and Ernie waves to him and says, "Okay, mate, see you later," and walks off the plane. So that had been a story that I had been told by PGA Tour pros on more than one occasion.
We thought it was a bit mythical.
We thought it was a bit mythical. However, in the No Laying Ups podcast this week, Ernie Els was asked directly about this event, and he confirmed it all. He says, quote, "It was just myself and Stevie coming from Japan to Palm Beach. We had a lot to drink. There was a lot to talk about, and we kind of hugged each other. It was a love fest on the plane. It's important to note Els was laughing when he references his hug. He went on to say, nobody got seriously injured. It was all in good fun. It was just what guys do, and there's a lot of testosterone running."
Just what guys do. Doesn't sound like Marino wanted any part of it.
I think Marino was not exactly sure what was going on there. But I had heard this story from a couple of people on the tour about, this story is true. This is the happiest day in the world that this has actually happened, that Ernie Els confirmed this happened.
So you're actually happy about this?
This is one of the great stories of all time. They're wrestling on a plane, but just that Ernie would say the words, "And now we fight."
Yeah, I don't understand. He just wanted to fight.
He just wanted to fight. He just wanted to wrestle. As a former wrestler, you could certainly appreciate this story.
But nowhere ever off the practice mat or in an actual wrestling match did I say, and now it's time to fight.
In a plane.
Wow.
In a plane flying back from Japan.
That is something.
And just so you know, for years, when we would do the U.S. Open and the British Open, and whenever Ernie Els would step up, we would say, and now he drives, and now he putts, and now he pitches, in reference
now
to,
we fight.
And now he fights.
Oh, you funny golf guys. Your little inside stories.
And now we know that the story is true.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. The Big Easy. Not so easy.
Don't ever be in close space with Ernie Els.
Actually, after this, I got into an elevator with Ernie at the 2013 U.S. Open at our hotel going up, and I was a little nervous.
I don't blame you.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous.
I don't blame you one bit.
I stayed to myself, and we had a pleasant conversation. Then I wished him well. But and now we fight.
All right.
The story.
Good to know.
Is true. While you were sleeping, by the way, brought to you by Tempur-Pedic, loved by our owners and ranked highest in customer satisfaction with mattresses by J.D. Power. Find out why at TempurPedic.com. So we had our NBA insider Brian Windhorst on earlier today talking about what's going on because we are on full.
This is LeBron Watch.
Again, LeBron has until Friday at midnight to decide to opt out of his $30-something million contract. $35.6 million contract with the Cavs.
Like that.
So we had Brian Windhorst on, and we're at the stage now we're trying to gauge the tea leaves. And what Brian told us, our NBA insider, he says, while we don't know what the Cavs are doing should tell us a lot.
I don't think the Cavs feel really good about their position. And I'm not basing that on anybody telling me. I'm basing that on their actions. Because if you look at their actions for the last 11 months, they're making decisions like they expect LeBron James to leave. And maybe that's smart. Maybe that's setting themselves up to move on and not be in the abyss.
So we talked about this before the draft. They had to go into the draft. And again, they used that 8th pick to take Colin Sexton, who was the freshman point guard at Alabama. And almost scored 40 points in that game where they played 3-on-5 and almost won because of the suspensions for people coming off the bench. So I think that they felt like, and with what they did at the draft, look, we don't know, so we have to pretend like we got to build something for the future, and that looks like it's going to be Colin Sexton and Kevin Love.
Yeah, it does. And he also, Brian Windhorst had said that the timetable may be a little quicker for LeBron here. His last two decisions were July 8th and July 11th, the two times, going to Miami and then coming back to Cleveland. And this time around, he said it could be earlier. He's actually taken his vacation earlier this year. Normally he goes like July 1st. He leaves for vacation, but he's already on his vacation. Doesn't want any pomp and circumstance this time around. Now, let's be honest. The first time he created all the pomp and circumstance with the TV show, and I'm taking my talents to South Beach. But I think it's one of those with time, age, and been there, done that that doesn't need to be done anymore. He just needs to make a decision. So Windhorst thinks that decision could come quicker than it has in the past.
And so, we asked him to handicap it, and he said 51% Los Angeles, 40% Cleveland, 8% Philadelphia, and 1% the field. And there's been a lot of speculation about going to Philadelphia because you have Ben Simmons, you have Joel Embiid, you have Markelle Fultz, and all that kind of stuff. But then from a basketball standpoint, I thought what Windhorst said was also very interesting about why Philadelphia wouldn't work.
I don't think Philadelphia, from a basketball standpoint, is a very good fit at all. I think LeBron is intrigued by them because they have a really interesting team and they have lots of options. And I also think Brett Brown is really well respected by players in the league. But I don't know who's going to shoot the ball. I don't know how it all work. That to me would be fascinating. I'd love to hear from somebody with the Sixers organization to tell me what their pitch is about how they think those players are going to work together.
And that makes a lot of sense.
No,
right?
It absolutely does because the best shooter on that team, J.J. Redick, would probably be gone in the scenario of LeBron going there. Because you think about that when you just started saying, where should LeBron go? Because we heard this a lot during the season. Oh, my God, look at the young talent that Philadelphia has. He can go there and they can take over the East and LeBron can continue his domination in the East. But I get that, and I heard that point a couple other times as well. Ben Simmons, big ball handler, moves the ball, rebounds, dishes the ball well, can't shoot. Yeah. Right? Markelle Fultz, all of a sudden the video when he hurt his shoulder coming back from that, how his shot had changed a little bit, and you saw a lot of his points early were layups or in the paint. So now you have LeBron who handles the ball. He needs shooters around him, and these two guys aren't really shooters. And you have no idea if or when they will develop into better shooters in this league. So from a talent standpoint, you do kind of go, wow, all that talent together, especially the young talent with the greatest, in the game today in LeBron. But you really break it down, it doesn't look like it's a great fit at all.
Yeah. And they put up the campaigns, trust the process, finish the process, all that kind of stuff. So it really looks like it's coming down to L.A. or Cleveland, right? So
it does.
It sounds like LeBron has either decided, let's go all in to where I want to live, and hopefully the allure of the Lakers will find a way to turn this thing around and maybe make a run at the Warriors over the next couple of years. Or, as Charles Barkley told us when he was on, look, my legacy is secure. If I get another ring, that's great, but it's not going to change how people perceive me one way or the other. And maybe I ride this thing out and become, an iconic thing in Cleveland for leaving, getting championships, coming back, delivering a championship, and staying here because it's my roots. Right? Those seem to be the most two dramatic things.
I mean, again, it comes down to his wants, his desires in this whole thing.
Yeah.
But the one thing we have to remember, though, is he is not a player who is coming to the end of his career.
No.
He's not in those waning couple of years where, his game isn't what it was. He's still the best player in the game. So that could certainly change his thought process of saying, I'm not ready to start to ride into the sunset because I still think I can be part of a championship team.
And again, we'll begin to know that process by Friday, because if he doesn't opt out, that means he's staying in Cleveland. And then if he does opt out, we expect this to be a much shorter window, according to Brian Windhurst, about when we'll know when LeBron is going to make his decision as to where he's going to play.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Well, there's certainly a lot of pressure when the World Cup is at stake. No doubt about it. It's one of the great sporting events of all time as we continue Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, and the ESPN app. And there's a lot of pressure on one player and one team today. And for more on that, we're delighted to be joined on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by Bruce Arena, former U.S. men's national tennis soccer coach and a National Soccer Hall of Famer. Bruce was with us earlier in the World Cup, and he continues to join us. We're happy to do that. Bruce, thanks for being with us. That cut by pressure by David Bowie and Queen certainly applies to Lionel Messi and Argentina today as they take on a very capable Nigeria squad. Messi's in a scoring drought, and Argentina has their back against the wall. What do you expect to see out of Messi, who has now gone 647 World Cup minutes without a goal?
Well, this is going to be the day that he has to show up and be the best player on the field, and that's necessary for Argentina to get through. Nigeria has a good team. Argentina is not in a great place in group play with only 1 point in their first two games, so they need to win today, and if they don't win, they go home.
What does it do for a player like Messi or any great player's legacy when not only they don't win a World Cup, but when they're not playing well?
Well, I think Messi's had such a great career that only thing this may take away from him is that they're not going to talk about him being the best player that's ever played. But he's certainly in the conversation, being one of the top 5 players in the history of the game. But all the great players somehow at the end of the day hold that trophy, and there's a lot of pressure on him. But Cristiano Ronaldo's not won a World Cup either, although he's won a European championship with Portugal and obviously a number of championships with Real Madrid. So there's a lot of pressure on these top players, but for some reason it's all on Messi in this World Cup and certainly today as well.
Bruce Arena with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So in many cases like this, if your best player isn't playing well, the coach or the manager is kind of helpless. So put yourself in the shoes of the Argentinian head coach here. I mean, how do you try and get the best out of him today in the most important game?
Well, I simply think that they've got to find him early in the game, get him involved in the game. The players around him are critically important. He has some good players on the Argentina team. It's not like it's a weak team by any means. So it'll be interesting to see how they get minutes out of Aguero today and Higuain, the two strikers that have to complement Messi. They've got to get better flank play. There's no reason that Di Maria can't play better. But they have a good team. Perhaps they put it together today. Unfortunately, if they do put it together, I think in the round of 16 they end up playing France, which is one of the favorites in the World Cup as well. So it's not going to be an easy road for Argentina or Messi.
Bruce, first World Cup where video replay is being used. How do you think it is going?
I think it's been good, actually. There were a couple of plays yesterday, certainly controversial. The goal Portugal scored at the end of the game to get a point was a big one, but it's actually gone well. We've seen it. It's begun in Major League Soccer, and it didn't go real smooth in Major League Soccer for the first couple of years. And in this World Cup, I've actually been impressed. The general soccer/football fan isn't used to games being stopped to look at video replay, so that's been a little controversial. But I do think it's been pretty good in the first couple of weeks of World Cup play.
Do you like the fact that they're getting to it decisively? Is there anything you would change about the VAR? Because it had huge implications in both games yesterday.
I think they're doing a good job. I think they've seen it in Major League Soccer. I think they've seen it in other American sports that helps them. And let's face it, this World Cup is all about television anyway, and it makes for, I think, exciting television.
It certainly has been. I mean, look, I still to this day think the Germany-Sweden match on Saturday was one of the most unbelievable games I've ever seen in any sport, let alone the World Cup, how it ended with that kick by Cruz to win it. Germany, Spain, and Portugal really are the three, and Argentina, I guess, 3 of the 4 the big names that were favored going into this World Cup. As this thing has played out, we've seen a couple of teams play better than we thought, and a couple of teams play below expectations. Right now, who do you think is the team that is playing at its best and is really peaking at the right time?
Well, we're going to see a little bit more today, but certainly in group play so far, Belgium and England have played well. I think today you're going to see, or tomorrow you're going to see Croatia. Croatia's been outstanding. Croatia plays Iceland today. They're ahead in their group, and they've been simply outstanding in Group D, and they've been, to me, a little bit of a surprise. But I think the big names, such as Brazil, are certainly there. Germany getting that big win on Saturday puts them back in place. So I think at the end of the day, when all the smoke settles out of group play, you're going to see all the big boys up there. You're going to see Brazil, you're going to see Germany, you're going to see France, Spain, Portugal, possibly Argentina. So all the big names are going to be in the round of 16, and then it gets obviously pretty exciting.
Once, Bruce, we get to this knockout round, what changes, if anything, from a coaching standpoint to a strategy standpoint with the players on the field?
Well, it's win or go home. You don't think about any games ahead as you do in group play. In group play, in game one, you say you have to get a point. Let's see where we stand after 2 games, and we have a strategy for game 3. And knockout, it's win or go home. So you throw your best team out there. Your team should be rested. The games are of more quality. The games are usually a little bit more open because you're going to see really the best players in the world playing in the round of 16, and the games open up, and it's exciting. And really, at the end of the day, the best team wins.
Bruce Arena with us, National Soccer Hall of Famer and former manager of the United States men's national team. Harry Kane, Cristiano Ronaldo, which one do you think has been the best player so far in the tournament? Or is there somebody else that I'm not mentioning?
Well, I think it's a little early. Ronaldo's obviously been good. Harry Kane's been outstanding. I don't think the competition has been as great for England in their group. I think it's really too early to tell. And you see all the pressure on Lionel Messi today. It's going to even be more intense as we advance. But certainly 2 of the big names so far has been Kane and Ronaldo, but I think you're going to see a lot more in Game 3, and today is the day for Messi, as I said, and you're going to see really where he's at in his team, and it'll be interesting. But I think again, as I said, all the big teams and the big names are going to be there in the round of 16, and then that's when things really get exciting.
Well, again, once we get into knockout round at the end of group play, it's either you win in regulation, you win in overtime, or you win on PKs. And
or you go home.
The drama certainly increases as we get closer and closer to the knockout round of the World Cup. Bruce, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, so
Bruce and Rena with us.
Basically 20 minutes away from the first two games starting, Denmark against France and also Australia against Peru.
Let's go Aussies.
Peru is out right now. They're done. Australia can still get in. France is in already. Denmark can get in as well. So, games with meanings. And then 2:00 Argentina against Nigeria is one of them. And then the other will be Iceland against Croatia.
Come on, Iceland.
Uh-huh.
I'm all in on Iceland. I really am.
Well, you're doing well right now. You lead with 30 points. Mike and Devin have 26. I have 25, and the staff has 20. As we get to that knockout round, then we forget the one-pointers. It's all three-pointers. It's only about winning at that point, yeah.
I want winners.
Uh-huh.
I want winners. I want people that want to win.
I need teams that want to win. Come on, Iceland!
Delta strives to take the stress out of travel so you can focus on what comes next. And Delta Comfort Plus can help. With Sky Priority boarding, extra legroom, and a wide selection of unlimited complimentary snacks, you can arrive refreshed, ready to take on the world.
Golic and Wingo with you on Tuesday, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, and the ESPN app. So we had the NBA Awards show last night. James Harden, the MVP. Rookie of the Year went to Ben Simmons. Dwayne Casey got fired and got his second award for doing a great job.
It's amazing.
As the Coach of the Year. But, at the end of the day, there was a finality to the NBA that we all knew was coming on some level. I said it before the season started. You're going to have the Cavs and you're going to have the Warriors there playing for the final again, right?
Right.
However, it got a little circumlocuitous for Cleveland to get there because of all the permutations and changes and everything else that went on. But we got there for the fourth straight year, which has never happened before. We've never had the two teams make it to the finals 4 straight years. And that led to this exhausting debate about whether or not super teams are good or bad for the NBA. And I've said all along, there's never been an era which we didn't have super teams in the NBA. Right. We just never had this one specific thing happen. And Adam Silver was asked about the idea of dynastic teams being bad for the NBA at the award show. And here's what he had to say.
What I've always said is I want parity of opportunity in the league, not some sort of forced parity that spreads players out just for its own sake. So we have a current set of rules, that requires teams to have cap space and players to become free agents. And if it works out that way, it works out that way. I mean, I've learned, been with the league long enough. It's you can't ever really know what's going to happen. And even once players come together, you don't know how they're going to perform together till you actually see them perform on the floor. So, I mean, I think as people start talking about super teams and dynasties, what the Celtics have done historically, the Bulls, the Lakers, San Antonio, and now what the Warriors are doing, it's not so easy to replicate. So I think that's part of where competition comes in the league, and we'll see what each team is able to do throughout free agency.
Well, I think the key things there is basically that everybody has the opportunity.
Correct.
Everybody is on the same playing field and has the opportunity to get these players through the rules. Now, a few teams get them, and you see which way the pendulum swings with those teams. But every and you can't please everyone, right?
Right.
You're in that situation where you can just try and make it an even playing field, and then let teams decide what they want to do, how much they want to go over the salary cap to pay a luxury tax. Are players going to be interested in their city and their location? So that's what you can't try and keep fixing the problem. I mean, they're trying again with the Supermax to pay. It was to pay your guy, give him that extra year to give him a little more money. Now it's a Supermax so they can get a lot more money to stay with their teams. And you have guys like Kawhi Leonard even balking at that. You have basically the second best player in the league, or wherever you want to put him, but he's right there balking at basically $70 extra million. So there's only so much that you can control. You can't say you can't move anywhere.
Right.
There's a thing called free agency. You can't do it. So if you put that incentive, you put that carrot out there for players to say, listen, if you stay here, you can make so much more money than going somewhere else. And if that's not going to incentivize them, I don't know what else is going to do it. Maybe just make it a free market. Maybe make it a free market. Take the max away. Or just say, you want LeBron James? You're going to have to pay $60 million for him. or I don't know. I mean, but right now, all you can do is have the same set of rules for everybody and see where it goes.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, look, I get it. We've never been in exactly what we've done right now before, which is these two teams meeting in 4 straight finals. But let's be honest. Has there ever been a time when there weren't dynastic teams in the 50s that dominated decades? The Celtics did it for the 50s and 60s. Let's throw out the 70s because the league almost went bankrupt. Okay, so things changed dramatically. Right. Then what happened in the 80s? I think the Lakers and Celtics combined to win 7 or 8 titles that decade. So those two teams dominated that. Then the Pistons came on late 80s, early 90s. Then you had the Bulls that won 6 in the 90s and sandwiched around Michael Jordan's minor league career. The Rockets won 2. Okay, then you get to the 2000s. The Lakers won 3 in a row and I think went to 4 or 5 straight finals. And then after that, you had the San Antonio Spurs make their run. And since 2010, it's basically been LeBron James' team, whether it's been the Miami Heat or the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. We've always had this problem in the NBA.
But the biggest difference is teams created it, now players create it.
Yes.
And I think everybody...
And that had people losing their minds over
They
that.
do. Everybody holds that against the players for it. You look at one of the last, the teams, the trio in Boston.
Right.
With Garnett, with Pierce, and with Ray Allen. Then you go to Miami, and now it's like, that's another thing. You can have all the rules you want, but when players talk to one another and say, let's all go to this place.
Correct.
Hey, Chris Bosh or LeBron, hey, let's go down and play with Dwayne Wade.
Summer, yep.
Let's go do it. Now, Adam Silver is right. That doesn't mean you automatically are going to mesh and it's going to work.
Like we saw with Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and Russell Westbrook.
Exactly. So, but, you're in a better chance of it working. But that's the biggest difference is now players can all get together. Kevin Durant has all the Golden State players come visit him in the Hamptons.
Right.
And they work out a way. If a player wants to take less money, that's another thing you can't control.
Klay Thompson has openly said, I'm good. I don't need a max contract because I make a really good living. And, by the way, we win championships.
We know when Tim Duncan has taken less money.
Yes.
Tom Brady has taken less money.
Yes.
There are you can put parameters in place, but you can't control some of the things of when players want to speak and say to one another and play on the same team. If someone's going to actually take a pay cut, which I'm sure the union would hate. Gosh, remember when A-Rod tried to do it with the Red Sox? Union lost their minds. Said, no, you can't take that less money. You have to optimize for the next guy, and I get that as well. So, as Adam Silver said, you can put a process in place, but the first thing you do, anybody from player to team to capologist to whoever, you look for how can we get around this?
Right.
What are the loopholes here? What can we do to work this to our advantage as a team? Or what can a player do to work it to his advantage to go where he wants to go? And that's what you do. And if something starts to happen, you can't just jump and change every rule and say, we have to morph to this new rule or that new rule because this happened. You just can't do that.
Yeah. Look, so it's going to be a problem and it's still going to be there. So what is this video? We got this video, John. What do we got here?
Oh, you got
another Florida man moment. We had Jeff Darlington earlier, our Florida man.
Yeah.
You will not believe this earlier on 995.
You're showing the video of
the video of the guy driving on a highway. He's holding on to the
hood of the car.
Hood of the car. He's actually laying on the hood of the car, speeding down a highway.
Come on, man.
That's crazy.
70 miles an hour.
70 miles an hour hanging. That's something you see in a movie.
Yeah.
With a stunt man.
Yeah, not that. Don't do that ever. All right, coming up, Taylor Twellman and Max Bretos will be in studio after another day of action at the World Cup. Plus, LeBron Watch continues, everybody. Have a great